Fun.
Cheers, love! The cavalry's here!
Welcome back, everyone. This is Overwatchers. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. He's Patrick Beja, and he is also Chris. Well, not also, because that would imply that Patrick is also
Patrick Beja.
And the other gentleman sitting here tonight is Chris. You may know him as Chan Man. Together, we form the Overwatchers, which is a way less elite group of heroes than Overwatch.
Basically, the Overwatchers, they're just the guys following the Overwatch strike teams around, just watching them, looking
We're
at
the
groupies.
Yeah, we're the
That's what you're
groupies.
saying.
Exactly.
I have my little diva mech hat. It's plushy, but it's still pink and has her stickers kind of sewn on like patches. Patrick has he's basically running around in a symmetric dress, but he hasn't shaved his legs.
Wow.
And Chris, I don't know your favorite hero. Who's your favorite hero, Chris?
Favorite hero. Gosh, everybody keeps asking me that, and I just have like a different one every time. I think right now it's Genji. So I can be the ninja dude.
Cool.
Yeah,
Sweet.
That's pretty nice too. I looked at my stats on Watcher.gg, which we're going to talk about in a second, and it turns out I'm really playing like every hero. The little stat thing that they do where they show each hero you play and how in a little pie, the pie chart. There you go. That's the name, a pie chart. It's super balanced. I was very proud of myself. So it's not really just Symmetra. I'm playing like almost all the heroes.
Yeah, man. Let's just get right into it. That was one of the first things we're going to talk about today, which is Watcher.gg. And it was only a matter of time. If you listen to my hero show into the Nexus, you hear us talking about HOTS logs all the time. Anytime there is a competitive game, somebody out there will build a way to track your statistics. And I'm really happy it's already here for Overwatch. The website is Watcher.gg, as we just mentioned. And I'm a bit in the dark as to how it works, but we're kind of assuming that it just it goes through Overwatch profiles on the official website and just aggregates all of the statistics.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So you can actually check for your Battle.net ID or the PSN ID or the Xbox Live ID and look at your own statistics. And then it sort of aggregates all of this and builds leaderboards and gathers a lot of information about these things. It's not a lot of information that it derives from it. It's mostly win rates, which I think we can probably discuss a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's really cool to see your stats, your personal stats presented in that way, and you might learn a couple of things about which character you play best, which character has which characters you play actually, and that kind of thing. I don't know if you guys were surprised at some of the learnings you had?
I was very surprised by Reaper and Tracer.
So you mean for the win rates?
Yeah. Apparently my Reaper is undefeated currently. And Tracer, which I've played a lot, actually has a pretty high win rate, considering I think she may be my most played hero. I figured playing her so much, I'd be a lot closer to the 50% win rate, but I'm actually sitting right now at a 66% win rate with Tracer.
Nice.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Actually, two of the surprises for me is that I've got 100% with Symmetra and Tracer, who are like two of my worst characters. Somehow I have 100% win rate with them. And then Soldier, I actually have below 50 with Soldier, which is kind of surprising. But I've played him quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
Talking about Symmetra, when you look at the hero stats for the entire site, all of the stats they're tracking, basically the biggest win rates heroes are Torbjorn, which might not surprise a lot of people, and Symmetra. Torbjorn is at 64.5 and Symmetra at 63.6. They're not the most played characters for sure, but they're played a decent amount. And they're basically head and shoulders above the next heroes, who are Lucio, Bastion, and then from Zarya on, you get below 53% win rate, so it becomes, I think, pretty balanced. And on the lower end, the lowest one is Pharah with 46.6 win rate. I'm guessing maybe she's a noob-friendly character. And Mercy is at 47.4, so below 50% with Mercy. That is very counterintuitive. But so generally pretty balanced, except for maybe Torbjorn, Symmetra, and Lucio, that maybe even just Torbjorn and Symmetra that are very much above everyone else, and Lucio as well can be considered a little bit OP maybe. Or
Mercy was my negative surprise. I apparently lose way more often than not when I play as Mercy.
I think, me too, actually. I mean, what's yours? Mine's 40%.
Mine is 16%.
Oh my god!
Wow, how many games?
Ask Garrett to heal.
That's the thing. That's the thing I'm confused about here. Is it says total of 6 games played, but I could have sworn I played more games as Mercy, and I could have sworn I've won more games than that with Mercy.
Yeah,
perception is a funny thing.
Yeah, but I know I was healing for a group the other night, and we were winning games. So I don't know.
Maybe it's not updated yet, but I mean, Mercy not being above 50%, she seems, and I think that what that says is it tells people, be careful about what you see in tournaments and in the pro player levels, right? Because some of the things that we see in those super esportsy type matches are possible because the players are so good. But if you look at the entirety of the population, it might be a little bit different. And especially now with the launch of the game, it's very early, so the overall population skill is probably a little bit low, which might explain why Torbjorn and Symmetra and these characters are helping their teams so much, because it's overall the population is a little bit lower skill and they're easier to play with when you're still learning the game. So
I'd say that about Torbjorn, but I wouldn't say that necessarily about Symmetra. I think Symmetra's kind of difficult to play just at all skill levels.
I'm
the
right
shield,
there with
though,
you.
is nice. Like the shield is just adding 25 health to everybody is definitely an advantage, like just overall for your team. But I don't know. Like for me, at least when I first started playing Symmetra, I just die all the time playing her.
Me as well.
Yeah, it's kind of fun putting down the sentries everywhere, but they're not nearly as effective as Torbjorn turrets.
They're also not as intuitive. I don't think it's as easy to know how to place a turret correctly. Now, I'm not talking after I've sat and played the game since launch, kind of nonstop. I'm talking about for a new player.
Yeah.
I did not understand Symmetra right out of the gate. When I got in the closed beta, I've already told this story multiple times about how I didn't know how to place the damn teleporter. And on top of that, I didn't know how to effectively hide her turrets in a way where I still got value out of them.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that, but the thing is, we're talking about the turrets quite a bit, but the real killer feature for Symmetra for new players is the teleporter. Not necessarily because of when you place it, but because the opposing team is not going to go hunt for it. So basically, what happens is that the opposing team is trying to kill enemies, and they keep coming back immediately, and they don't understand why they're not advancing. But the reality is, the teleporter is there, so it doesn't matter if you kill them. Okay, it has 6 charges, and then you have to put it back up. But during that interim, it doesn't matter if you kill them. They're coming back 5 seconds later. And I think that's the reason why Symmetra is being so has such a high win rate at nowadays when people are learning, because they just the teleporter is the swing thing.
Oh, I agree with you. I think if you look at individual pieces of Symmetra's kit in a vacuum, she can be very, very new player friendly and bring a lot to a team from someone playing her optimally. But I think if you're just talking overall how to understand a hero's kit and how to play them correctly, I think Symmetra's pretty high on the learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she has a high sky ceiling. A lot of people have been talking about sky
Skill.
skill
Skill.
ceiling. Yes, I apologize. She has lots of people have been talking about skill floors and skill ceilings.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
has a high skill ceiling. I agree, but she also has a low low skill floor because of that teleporter, right? That makes her immediately useful to everyone, even if she doesn't know how to place her turrets.
Yep.
I think that's what's happening there.
I would also argue the shields. I mean, the
shields
shields are
easy, too.
fire
It's like
and
the
forget.
easiest thing in the world.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
To
of
apply
course.
those
If you're trying to support, like, you know, if you're trying to support as Symmetra to like it's so easy. Just put a shield in everyone, and they're good. They're golden. It regenerates.
Exactly. That's the least amount of maintenance I think of almost every ability in the game.
Yeah, of any healer out there.
Exactly.
And-
With the mercy percentage, I think an explanation for that, at least early on, right, like right now, first week and that sort of thing, is that if you do play with newer players, they tend not to pick mercy. So like the least skilled players or the very new players tend to play DPS players. So you get stuck playing Mercy in some of these compositions. At least I do. I get stuck playing Mercy or Reinhardt in some of these games if I solo queue with newer players. And generally, that just means your damage is going to be played by a new player, and they're not going to be killing many people very quickly. So you end up losing those games more often.
Yeah.
That I found. Yeah.
Yeah, which definitely seems to be the case with my games, because I always go to Mercy. I love playing Mercy. I find her kit just fun as all get out to play with. But I typically bring her in to pick up games where no one else is filling that spot. And instead of complaining about it in all caps in chat, I say, fine, I'll heal. Cool, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also important to mention that she's below 50%, but she's not incredibly below, right? She's at 47.4 now.
Yeah.
So she's not horrible, but you're right. Maybe you're playing Mercy with other players that are not killing anyone. And the other thing to note with Symmetra is that she's the lowest playtime character overall. Yeah. She has 1.7% when most of them are usually around 3 or 4 or 5. So
yeah. And to our listeners out there, we're not crapping on new players, which I've seen. I saw an email in the inbox earlier where someone was like, "You guys really sound like you hate new players." And it's like, no, we're not. We're not crapping. We're not making fun of new players. We're just recanting our stories. We're literally just telling you how our games went.
Yeah.
No, and I think and I think it's very important to understand that when you're first starting the game, there's a lot to learn. And I think, if we haven't conveyed that properly, I apologize, but it's just that we're telling what we went through when the beta first started. And it's important to understand all of these dynamics, that you play the game and the characters differently after, 10 hours, 50 hours, and maybe 100 hours where you stabilize roughly, or where you are and you're going to progress a little bit slower. And the entire population that's playing the game right now has to go through all of this. And I think that's something everyone now understands, is that Bastion hate that we had in the first week, maybe even in the open beta, that hasn't happened so much in the launched game. And I think everyone will understand that as well. Bastion was hated, but it was just a phase everyone had to go through to understand how to play the game. So it's basically, we're talking about all of this, but maybe a little bit farther along because we've just played so much.
Yeah. Well, Bastion the hate had a lot to do with the old Bastion too.
In the
with the
closed beta
shield
days.
and just the added death. It was
I
a little
disagree.
bit stronger.
It was, but the Bastion hate during the open beta was the current version of Bastion, and everyone, like Reddit, Twitter, everyone was like, "Oh, every play of the game is Bastion play."
Well, that had to do with play of the game too, because every game, it was play of the game, and it's kind of like, Reaper's Death Blossom was every single play of the game too, and it was getting kind of boring. So all those changes, I think, just lead to a different environment, and it's a little, but it does have a lot to do with what you're talking about too. Just people figure things out. And it just becomes widespread once people figure things out too, which is kind of nice. Definitely kind of nice. What's your spread like, guys? I saw yours, Patrick. Yours is pretty even, just with the quads in the pie. But what's yours look like, Garrett?
almost very heavily in favor of tank and offense, and
Really?
then defense and support is the smallest.
Mine's almost 50%, offense like DPS, and then it's a third. The rest of the other 50% is like a third divided equally.
Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of
Gotcha.
interesting.
I recently I avoided him like crazy in the beta, and I can't even necessarily tell you why. For me, it probably is just a flavor thing. I avoided Roadhog like no one's business.
Oh yeah.
And in this past week, I came to the conclusion that I do not suck with this character.
He's fun. He's really fun.
Yeah, I am surprisingly good with Roadhog. I never thought I would be. I guess this is like the heroes player in me. I'm like, oh, Stitches, I'm staying as far away from Stitches as possible. I can't land a hook to save my life. But I'm doing really well with him. He's like my go-to defense tank at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those characters where, there may be a third of the characters I thought I wasn't gonna like just because the kit and the visuals and the style didn't appeal to me. And when I've played Roadhog, it's just really fun, and you have this. All of the tanks have a different kind of staying power, right? Like Diva will have this immense amount of armor, the shield for Reinhardt, etc., etc. I'm not going to go through all of them, but Roadhog's staying powers mechanic is super fun because you're just regaining your entire health every 4 seconds or so, and then you get in front of everyone and you're like and you hook them, and it's the best feeling in the world, right? When you're obnoxiously laughing in their face and hooking them and shooting them with the strap gun.
It really is. And for me, I was getting to this point where I'm like, man, I'm getting really annoyed with certain heroes, and it's like I tried Roadhog, I'm like, oh, Roadhog's just the counter to all these heroes I hate. Like,
Well, he's also just a beefy Reaper too.
Yeah.
So he's got the shotgun essentially. So he counters a lot of the Winstons and things that shotguns are good for too. But he's one of the tanks I played. I started learning like pretty late too, and I've had a really good time playing him. I just haven't really figured out the range for the right click quite yet because I feel like it's visually. It's like I don't know.
It's a bit weird,
It's a little confusing for me because it looks like it's really short to me, but when you actually fire it, it actually hits pretty far out there.
I feel like when I'm playing him, it feels slightly shorter than I think it is, and when I'm playing against a Roadhog, it feels slightly longer than I think it is. But that doesn't sound like
his hook for me, man. His hook for me is like, gosh, I couldn't reach him, and then I'm some Pharah that's like flying really far up, and he somehow grabs me and kills me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just happy to see that two heroes that I thought I was good with, which Roadhog and Diva, are at the top of my win rate. So
nice,
cool. Now this site's really cool, though. Yeah, definitely watcher.gg, guys. Like, give it a try and take a look at your own stats. It even has rankings overall, that's kind of cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dive into some esports because we had our first post-launch LAN event this weekend. Called Agents Rising. So
we actually had two. We had Agents Rising was the North American one, and we had one in EU, which Take TV hosted, which was called the Takeover, and they were kind of going on at the same time. But thankfully, EU. Obviously, with the time difference, happened in the morning, and then going into the afternoon, and then they would have like maybe a couple hours or a few hours where they'd overlap, and then Agents Rising would just go on the rest of the way. So it's a pretty cool weekend. And just like definitely, if you're an esports fan, you were probably sitting there just watching the entire weekend, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of Overwatch goodness. So
yeah.
So Chris, I'm going to ask you first. What was your overall perception of the tournament?
So for each one, so the takeover was very take-like, like Home Story Cup and Seat Story Cup, and if any of you guys have ever watched Takes events, they're very casual. The casters, they usually have a mixture of just the casters they hire plus like players or just whoever's around.
It's a rotating cast.
Yeah,
it's literally like it feels like whoever just happens to sit down on the couch.
Yeah, and then it's really great because you get to see everybody's personality come out because a lot of the players, you just kind of see them on cam and you don't really get you see them in interviews. The interviews are always kind of awkward and cringy for the most part, right? But this is a little bit more of a natural environment, and I think it does a really good job of highlighting, showcasing their knowledge too. So, anyways, I feel like the takeover was exactly that. And the play was great too. There lots of cool storylines. Creation was the second best, or maybe actually no, third best European team coming in, and they had for a long time been like the second best European, but they had a couple bad showings recently, and they were kind of dropping off. But they ended up pushing Rogue, who is the number one European team, very far. They beat them in the winners bracket, so they knocked Rogue actually to the losers bracket, and Rogue had to really grind and like really grind out, get serious, and then they were able to get back into the finals and then ended up taking the whole thing. But big news that Creation even took them to that point, just beating them easily too, which was kind of crazy. So that was really really cool, and just definitely great for the European scene too. Lots of teams there that we saw, just in that tournament, and just developing really nicely, just here in the EU in EU and as well as NA, and then the NA scene, of course, Team Liquid doing pretty well is going to get everybody pretty hyped, just because just the history of Team Liquid and just all the other esports, and they had a pretty good run. Of course, Cloud9 winning the whole thing as usual was no surprise. But Team Liquid, I mean, after getting stomped by Cloud9 in the winners bracket,
they had such a good showing in the finals.
Yes, and honestly, I think it would have been closer if they didn't do this whole extended series thing where they started down 2-0, because they started off hot. Like, and I had this like play of the tourney that I kind of linked there just in our notes that really showcased a King's Row. Like King's Row is like the first map that they played on. Or was it it might have been, no, second map they played on. And there was this moment where, King's Row is like a map that they all finish. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get the first objective really quickly, and then you always put up a time, like on King's Row. It's just like the oldest map. Everybody's done it, and, just people are very efficient at it, proficient at it.
Just to specify, because it's important for the game as well, you're saying put up a time. It means finishing the map and then setting the time that the other team has to beat on the other game in the stopwatch format. Just
That's right,
because our
exactly.
audience might not be used to those.
So the competitive format generally is a stopwatch format, and you have to finish the map to put up a time.
Yeah, and I feel like the format wasn't super clear, and the casters weren't even clear on the format.
Yes,
early on in the tournament.
Typical of these early esport events, unfortunately. But with the general format was basically if you did end up finishing the map or putting up a time, the other team has to beat it, right? And if the other team doesn't beat it, then you get a point for that. But you also get a point for finishing the map too. A team that finishes it versus not finishing it, they can get up to 2 points versus 0 points, right? And Team Liquid actually pulled that off on Cloud9, which was shocking. So they ended up getting like 2 points on that map when Cloud9 got nothing. So they would have actually started out with a 2-0 lead just right off the bat, or at least a 2-1 lead right off the bat, which would have been pretty interesting and could have led to some kind of psychological momentum, that sort of thing. Where when you're down 0-2, you just kind of feel like you're trying to come back and all that stuff. And generally speaking, historically, I've never seen anybody in StarCraft come back from an 0-2. Just whatever the extended series was back in the day, at least any big matches. So generally, it's been accepted that's a bad thing. So I don't know why they ended up doing it.
It's a really tough place to be in. Yeah, and I haven't seen this type of format in a long time, like you said, since really I followed StarCraft closely.
Yeah. But overall, you know what? The tournament, the EU one, the takeover one, pretty much what you'd expect. Lots of cool production things like they were able to cut some highlights pretty quickly and show them shortly after. But generally speaking, the spec and was what you expect. I think I had Mitch on earlier on the overview, and he was running ops. So one of the casters was running ops. That's not efficient. And it really hurts the casting, even though they are fantastic casters, just Jason and Mitchie and even Too Good and Nathanius, as well as Joris are joining them. But the NA one actually had 3 cam people and a director running obs. And it really showed too. Like the way they were jumping. I mean, they were able to catch many more plays than we typically see.
And on the
esports.
off chance newer listeners aren't picking up on what you're talking about, OBS is short for observers.
Yes.
So the people that are basically your cameramen for what you're watching if you're watching an esports broadcast of any game.
Yeah.
And when a caster has to observe at the same time as they are casting, that is difficult. As difficult as all get out. I have done it only a handful of times with heroes, and I hate it. I never want to do it again.
It's just so distracting, you know what I mean? You're just 50% trying to figure out. I mean, imagine Overwatch trying to figure out what the most interesting thing to see is while you're talking about it. That's incredible. That's like it's actually pretty amazing that what they've even done so far, you know, just being able to do that. But the casters didn't have to worry about obsing at all. And again, they had this setup where I'm sure one observer was watching one team, or at least flipping from the teams, and one was doing it from another, and maybe one was looking from above, you know, just doing more of an overhead type of scan. And they had things like picture in picture at certain points. And then the director obviously was pretty, you know, knowledgeable of the game and was able to pick, you know, just, all right, this ult's about to happen, or this guy's about to make huge plays, you know, just show this, you know, that type of thing. And I think it's a taste of what's to come. You know, it's still a lot of work to be done, but this is the setup that we're talking about.
Yeah, there were some hiccups. There were some points even where the casters kind of like, oh, and apparently we're watching this guy respawn for some reason. But like overall, I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, being the first land, it seemed like at least a lot of people were there. It was an open tournament, you know, just for the most part, and a lot of teams, and yeah, a lot of cool storylines. So I think overall, it's just a huge success. They got up to 45K concurrent on Twitch, which that's crazy. I mean, that's great. I remember how long it took for our Hearthstone tournaments to get up to that far. So after 1 week, getting up to that kind of viewership, I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg, guys. I mean, it's going to be huge.
Are we that surprised? Really? I mean,
I'm not surprised, but you know what? There's other people that have been, you know, very tempered with, you know, just their excitement of oh, this is Blizzard doing esports, and you know that whole bit. So, it's like I understand it, but it's just like this game is. I mean,
I always want to be. I always want to be super careful about all of these, and so I'm always thinking, yeah, but you know, it's launch week, and we'll see how it happens afterwards. But it's true that it's currently still number 2 when we're on Twitch, and Twitch numbers don't mean huge amounts still, but I mean, yeah, I always want to be careful, but. Coming back to the tournament itself, I mean, there were some really interesting things happening in there. First of all, thank you very much for selecting the play of the tournament.
Oh gosh,
basically what was happening was that was it Cloud9 attacking? Yeah, it was Cloud.
Yeah, it's Cloud9 attacking. Yeah,
and
TL defending.
Yeah, so they were attacking the first point on King's Row, and they were going to take it. They had done super well, and then Symmetra had her ultimate and put down the teleporter like right behind the choke point, and Surefour was on Genji for Cloud9, destructing everything, killing everyone,
with
making sure they can come back to coming back to the point. And Symmetra puts down the teleporter. McCree comes out, shooting everything in sight, kills Surefour, comes back to the point, starts killing people. Everyone's coming out of the teleporter, and they get back the point. It was insane.
It was literally Symmetra throws down a teleporter. I mean, I don't know what was going on comms, you know, actually on voice and everything between them, the team voice. But literally, last ditch, she throws down a teleporter as Genji slashes and kills her. And this was something that we were talking about a little bit too. Like, why didn't the teleporter die? Like, is it invincible while it's blossoming or whatnot? But the teleporter comes up, and McCree comes out, and right after McCree comes out, Reinhardt and Mercy come out, and then like the rest of the team comes out, and they retake it with like about 10 or 20% left on the like being captured, like because this point was being captured during all this time, and they take it, and then they were able to hold them off of the first point. The rest. Or almost the rest of the game. It was like really, really close, but they held them off another 3 minutes after that. It was crazy.
I cannot wait to see Carbot's comedic interpretation of this play happening.
Yeah. Exactly right.
That was really fun. And then there was a very healthy distribution of characters. We saw as we mentioned, some Genji, some Bastion got some play on a few control maps.
I am so happy to see Bastion. I am always happy to see Bastion.
I think Route 66, that like people are just using it all the time on Route 66 just to tear through shields, kill the Winstons. It's been pretty interesting, pretty consistent too. We're seeing it pretty regularly now on some of these maps. And I mean, you know what? We were hearing some crazy, some things that Fishsticks caught that I didn't actually catch when I was watching it. But there's the way people are trying to counter the Bastions, or somebody switched to a Diva. I think it was on Clutch. It was either Clutch or one of the other teams. They switched to a Diva, and then they would combo with Winstons. And then they would fly at the Bastion, use the defense matrix with the Winstons behind it. And then they would land there and then kill the Bastion. It was disgusting plays like that. It's like, wow. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah. I want Top Gun music played during that.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And then there's sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we saw Zarya too. We saw Zarya, we saw some Mei, we saw
a lot. There was a lot of Zarya. There were a few funny double Tovnosties happening with both teams stuck in the thing moving around. It was really funny.
It's such a funny break in the game because it looks so awkward, right? Like you're just watching hours upon hours of perfect play and just such twitchiness, and then all of a sudden both teams are just stuck in a toilet.
The exact our content.
Yeah. And we saw some crazy Genji. I mean, Korra, I think he was from Clutch, playing Genji. Like it's the interesting thing about those plays is that you see them play like you would never be able to pull any of this off ever. And he leads the shots because they have travel time, and then it's crazy stuff. And then the Ninja Bears. We have to talk about the Ninja Bears, right?
Bears.
What else is there to say other than 9-year-old Jer Bear is the winner of this tournament in, I think, everyone's hearts?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was
for sure.
amazing.
It was basically a team that
family.
entered the tournament as a family, and one of the team members was a 9-year-old kid. He was basically so short, his arms weren't quite resting on the desk properly, so he was almost like, it was so cute. They got beat pretty decisively, but they put up a couple of interesting fights.
But what my favorite thing about the whole thing was there are still the upvote cards at the end of the matches in Overwatch for these tournaments, and Jer Bear got all the upvotes at the end of his game.
He got a legendary one.
And that just, oh man, dude.
Which, by the way, he got a 12.1.
That's
which
what I mean.
Means,
it's like super legendary.
Yeah, legendary is 10, but what I mean is he got 12, which means he voted for himself as well. Which was
Of course he did.
Of course.
He's not going to vote for himself.
Oh, my Grinch heart grew 3 times that day. It was wonderful.
Yeah,
but that's cool. I mean, that just shows you that just this family. I mean, this game is kind of accessible to entire families, and competitive Overwatch doesn't have to be this type of high, just the highest level of competition. We can actually have these fun tournaments too, local. That doesn't necessarily. It's just like having Hearthstone tournaments that don't have legendary players.
I want Overwatch to bring like the resurgence of the local LAN. Like grab your tower, grab your laptop, everyone get together. Let's play a tournament.
Exactly. So it's cool to see that.
Yeah,
I've definitely been enjoying with my son. So seeing, I mean, I never crossed my mind to enter in a LAN and go and play, but it's how cool is it to see families do that?
If you need someone to fill out for your family team, I would love to join you.
All right, that's cool, man. Definitely welcome in. But yeah, overall, I think it was a very successful tournament. The eSports Arena folks, Tyler over there, seemed to be ecstatic about just how it went. And I think it's just, we learned some things just with the scoring system being as confusing as it was and things. We still I think everybody, at least in the esports community, appreciates them trying it. You know what I mean? Like, just try new things. We'll come up with something over time that's going to be, just what we end up stabilizing on from the standpoint of scoring format and that sort of thing. So this was just another one of those, but this was definitely an upgrade from the standpoint of just production, just obsing and that sort of thing. And I hope every tournament, or at least every LAN, just from here on out, will adopt the same type of thing. So same type of complexity.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see where things get taken in the future, because obviously at some point Blizzard has to make a call for their own personal tournaments. What format.
We'll
they're
see
going
what
to
happens
use.
with the competitive mode in a few weeks. That might be an indication of where
that'll be a huge tip of the hat as to what they're going to be using for their official tournaments. So we will we'll have to wait and see. It's exciting. It's always exciting to be on the ground floor when a new game comes out like this. And I'm really happy to see how well the esports are doing right out of the gate, even when there's still a lot of oiling to be done.
Yeah. One last comment I just kind of want to get your opinion on this too is that, during all this stuff and during all this hype and all this stuff just going on in social media and whatnot, not even a peep of it on Reddit, or at least it didn't show up anywhere even close to front page or even like second page. And I don't know, I thought that was kind of strange. Or I know that most people right now are like new players and casual players, and they probably don't even know about these tournaments, but I would have at least liked to see a link somewhere to some of these tournaments somewhere on the subreddit, given that the subreddit pretty much is the community website at this point. And competitive Overwatch should be represented somewhere.
I'm not
no,
sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
No, go ahead. I'll tell my piece afterwards.
I was gonna say, I'm not surprised in the least that you didn't see it the top, on the front page upvote wise, because there are so many people here. And we were even going to might as well talk about it now, that the subreddit has grown over 100,000 subscribers in the past 12 days.
It's nuts, dude.
Which is just ridiculous. So there are so many people in there right now, and we are all new players, all of us together. It does not matter if you were in the closed beta or not. Like, the three of us here have a slight leg up on the people everyone who just started playing last week. Like, it is minor in the grand scheme of things. And everyone just wants to talk about the game. Everyone wants to post their ridiculous play of the game. Everyone wants to get their shit post on about how Bastion's OP. Like, that does not surprise me, because every subreddit for a competitive game of this type, eventually that stuff does die off. Eventually you've seen every weird, crazy, little bizarre thing, until there's updates to the game, of course. When we get new heroes, that will return. When we get new maps, that will return. But at a certain point, this is going to wane off, and esports are going to move in and kind of start to dominate the Reddit space, because we've seen it time and time again. I've seen the same thing happen with Hearthstone. Saw the same thing happen with Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
And that's basically, that was going to be my point. And we saw that happen in the beta even. Initially, again, the three phases of Overwatch. Initially, you're pissed about Bastion and Torbjorn, and then you learn to deal with them, so every post isn't about that. And then you start having those crazy plays of the game, and first it's like everything is Reaper jumping in and doing Q of the game with his Death Blossom, right? And then you have slightly crazier things like I don't know, Genji reflecting a Zarya ultimate, or these kinds of things. And people are, it's surprising and delightful, and you want to share this with everyone. So currently on the Reddit, every post is this, and a lot of people are complaining. They're like, guys, can we please stop with the plays of the game? And it doesn't matter, because everyone's posting them and everyone is upvoting them, because it's so cool. Like when you first find out about all of these, but then even in the beta, it ended up dying down after a couple of months, and I think it's going to be the same thing here. We're always going to see some of them, but people are going to get used to it. But for now, most people aren't used to all of this. It's all new and incredible. So I think it's gonna the plays of the games aren't gonna drown out every other piece of content for more than a few weeks, hopefully.
Yeah. You know what's gonna happen? It's gonna be like Trollden starts like play of the days.
Yep, that's exactly.
And then there's gonna be an aggregate for.
It's gonna cannibalize it. I think everyone right now is enjoying being their own star, because very soon we're going to have household names like Surefour. We're just
we already have one in Siegel. I mean, he's getting like over 30K like when he streams. It's
right. But my point is, like, right now the game's brand new. Everyone just wants to talk about the game, want to talk about their own experience. They want to be their own star, and that doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I think you're right. That's exactly what it is. The play of the game makes you feel like you are awesome, like you're the star of the game, and you feel good about it, and you want to share it with people. I think it's completely natural. And once the thing you just did, once you've seen it 5 times on Reddit in the past 2 weeks, then at that point it becomes, okay, maybe I'm not going to post it anymore because it's common.
Yeah.
So we're still working through that.
Yep.
Well, the meta is showing your play of the game and you're the star, and then it transitions over showing other people, like showing yourself killing somebody that's trying to make a play of the game because they're doing the little diva art thing.
We have to explain this. It's so basically one of the things we were seeing as on Reddit, a lot of people were posting it. It was people trying to time the Diva Ultimate as for it to explode, the mech explosion that would kill 3 or 4 or 5 people at the same time as they would time their heart emote to open her arms at the moment of the explosion. So a lot of people were posting things where it was successful. So you would have her throw the mech, the explosion happen, and her timing the emotes just right so that she would open the arms when the sound was sounding. And so that happened for like a week. And then someone posted the amazing thing of him getting a play of the game as he was killing a diva, very clearly trying to do this. So she threw her ultimate and she was doing the emote and he was standing in front of her going like, "What are you doing?" Boom, you're dead. And it was brilliant. And he posted it on subreddit with the title, "When you're trying to get on Reddit with a Diva Ultimate emote." So it was
trying to get
perfect.
the top of Reddit.
This is it's kind of why I'm like I don't care. I'm kind of completely okay with the fact that the tournament didn't make it to the front page, because this type of bizarre snake eating itself Reddit meta is just too ridiculous not to love. But I will say I don't know if they had this over the weekend, because it's not until didn't even cross my mind until you had mentioned that the tournament wasn't mentioned on the subreddit, Chris. But it looks like they at least now have an upcoming events tab. Was that not there before?
I think that was. During the overview, Zoevia was mentioning that was coming up, and I guess now it's there. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah, now it's here. Cool. Good to know that you're iterating. I would like to see a link to see more upcoming events than one, if we want to.
But I mean, just to be clear, we're saying it's probably going to subside and the plays of the games are going to go away. If they don't, it's going to be a problem. I don't think it should be this all the time for the entire life of the subreddit. We want to see some of the other content and some of the tournaments for sure, but also other things, because nothing is bubbling up to the top nowadays, right?
Right, absolutely. But I think eventually it will peter out. I'm sure we'll have a better mix going forward. If it continues this bad, I wouldn't be surprised if we get another subreddit. It's like Overwatch POG or POTG. Sorry,
and like just post your POGG there.
POTG, yeah, absolutely. So, shifting gears to Loreland, where we recently got a very fun flavor piece on the official Overwatch site titled "Overwatch is back. Uncertainty and hope after UN confirms vigilante activity."
The accent, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lovely.
I like it.
So that's just basically a very quick summary of the lore of Overwatch and what happened. And honestly, it put it in a timeline that I don't think I had very clearly in my head, even with everything I know about the game. So do you want to run through it very quickly so we tell the audience what happened before the game started?
I mean, overall, I don't think there were a whole lot of surprises here, because it talks about the Omnic Crisis, which we knew was the kind of the catalyst for Overwatch forming, as kind of the big first thing, and then it talks about after that kind of subsided that there was this is the more interesting thing for me, because I didn't know this was according to the lore of Overwatch, there was a basically I wouldn't call it a schism, but there was a dark version of Overwatch called Blackwatch that was formed within Overwatch that Reaper was part of, and I'm assuming Widowmaker.
Yeah.
that was running Black Ops, and the world kind of blamed Overwatch. This obviously became public knowledge, and the world kind of blamed Overwatch as a whole, not just singling out the people in Blackwatch, and that led to the disbarment of Overwatch as a whole.
Yeah, it's even a little bit more than that. The thing is, Overwatch very successfully countered the Omnics during that Omnics crisis, where they rose up and they didn't make demands. They didn't, ask for anything. The Omnics were just trying to destroy everything, and Overwatch gave hope to humanity. And then we get into an almost Sokovia Accords type of Avengers situation where Overwatch is considered to be too powerful. And it's Blackwatch, of course, which, sort of throws controversy into the whole group. But also, apparently, Overwatch has not a lot of oversight. It is the UN, but they go and do stuff, and they don't, they're not accountable for a lot of the things they're doing.
It's hard not to throw immediate connections to the Winter Soldier, or not Winter Soldier, sorry, Civil War, which just came out.
Which is interesting because it was developed, independently. We didn't learn what Civil War was exactly about until it actually came out. We know it was, going to be superhero versus.
Well, we knew it was based off of the Civil War comics, but
yeah, it was.
But it's a different thing. The Civil War comic is about the Registration Act for the superheroes. The Civil War movie is very clearly about having oversight on the Avengers and deciding, where they can or cannot go, right? So
Fair enough. Yeah. So actually, the movie script is way more analogous to what is happening with Overwatch here.
Exactly.
That's a good point. So the timing is very hilarious.
Yeah. But they decide to disband Overwatch, and they say, you know what? They're not needed anymore. It's fine. The Omnics are gone. The Omnics crisis is over. The Omnics are here, but they're not a problem anymore. And then there starts being what we see in some of the shorts, which is the Omnics asking for rights and the Omnics right movement, etc. And that's the moment of the sort.
That's what I feel is the key piece of information missing from this that I really wanted. It's like, well, when did the Omnics come back and decide that they were going to be like bipedal humanoids that want to have girlfriends and have protests? Like, none of that is mentioned in here. The only thing mentioned is the assassination of the figure in the Widowmaker short.
I think what we assume is that
it's
the
coming,
Omnics,
though,
the Omnics are, were built by a specific company. What was the name? The Omnica Corporation, and they put Omnics everywhere. Right? They put those robots everywhere. The Omniums were everywhere, and then they started to rebel. So what I'm guessing is they sort of closed down. They shut down the rebellion. But the Omnics were still everywhere, and some of them were, getting used, and some of them got through that spiritual awakening that Zenyatta keeps yapping about and Mondata was talking about, and they sort of became people, or they're claiming they became people at that point. But that's sort of, we're guessing. It's not specifically said in the
yeah. I hope we get a separate piece, or hopefully a comic at some point, or a novel, or better yet, a short that's not actually very short. I would love any of that to cover that particular story.
Maybe the Zenyatta one could explain how this.
I think it's gonna be what leads us into that side of the story.
Yeah, I also after reading this, really want to see the throwdown between Reaper and Soldier 76 that ends in Overwatch's headquarters in Switzerland blowing up.
Yeah, dude, that is like the third movie in the trilogy, the future trilogy. Yeah. That is like the matchup between superheroes.
It's the prequel. It's the prequel when they put the site. Once they start doing one movie every 2 years that follows the continuity of Overwatch, they do another one every other year, like they do with Star Wars, which is a side story.
Okay, so do you think when the throwdown between Soldier and Reaper happens, that someone will say, I loved you, you were like my brother, or do you think someone will say, he's my friend, and the other person will say, so was I?
Maybe they will say.
I like the latter. I like the latter.
I'm drawing so many parallels to Star Wars and Avengers here.
Rightfully so. I think it's probably smart too. We'd probably be predicting correctly if we did follow those storylines.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't
So,
care. I don't care. I eat this kind of stuff up. I love this
I do
type of
too,
fiction.
man. Trope it up, baby.
And I
I
yeah,
like it.
what I liked about this piece is that it brought us to now, right? Because once the Zenyatas and Mondatas and all of the Omnics in the world are aware, and we have this Omnics right movement, that is when things start to become unstable again, and then we go right into the shorts with Winston hitting that recall button and Widowmaker killing Mondada, and well, the other two were just happening in parallel. But the when Genji tells his brother, the world is in turmoil again, or something like that, and you have to pick a side. He's talking about that instability coming back, and now this is where we are in the world of Overwatch, and for some reason we're fighting three tracers on Watchpoint Gibraltar. That doesn't fit in the story, but whatever.
no, it doesn't. Nor does Reaper also being thrown into the mix on that same team. But
Well, so you said that all that, you did mention that all those shorts were happening in parallel. Are they happening in parallel? Because wouldn't the Winston recall have triggered, I mean, just some kind of
No,
response, right? From
not necessarily. I mean, maybe they have to be at their computer to see the recall. So maybe Soldier 76, he's out. He's saving people from pinata thieves. And he gets back to his Clint Eastwood Batman cave and notices, oh hey, I've got a voicemail from my monkey friend. Sorry, ape friend.
Wow.
No, but thing is, I don't think Soldier, for example, he wouldn't come for the recall. He's just like, Overwatch, F you guys, I'm gonna kill all of you. Like he doesn't want Overwatch to come back. He says so it's other ones. It's Mercy and Torbjorn and Reinhardt and these ones that are being recalled. But anyway, it's all fun stuff.
Yeah. I just want more from this world. It's hysterical because of the way that the game is, that it's just this it is just a PvP game. It's just a team-based shooter. They don't need to flesh the world out like this. We don't need all this extraneous fiction, but I love it and I want more of it.
And it's just, it's a positive feedback loop. It keeps you in the universe of the game. It makes you want to play it, and it creates that. It fills out the fandom, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes it more than just the game, and makes it more fun for everyone and more present for everyone. So
do you think we've been talking about this for weeks now, and just how, I mean, you mentioned completeness. I mean, it really is like, this is like a new level of completeness in terms of just coverage for a game or just an IP and that sort of thing. You think this is going to establish a precedent for other developers and publishers to, whenever we decide to launch a new title or a new franchise, at least a major one, and from a major developer, I mean, we need to go to this extent, all media, nail it, and from that standpoint.
Well, I don't think this is the only time it's been done. I'm a big Halo fan, and Halo does the cross media out the wazoo. I mean, to the point of feature length films, mid-tier budget television shows, plus comics, plus novels, and the game itself.
Yeah.
So it's to varying degrees of success. So I don't know. I think it's.
Do we know of one that hasn't been successful?
I think you could argue the success of Halo's cross media attempts.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy them because I'm a raging Halo fan, but I don't hear my buddies talking about it.
Right. No, that's a good point. Yeah. I would say the success of Halo has been limited at best.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your thoughts, Patrick? You think other developers should consider this?
I think it might show a little bit. I mean, we see when something like this is successful, it's always something that other developers or other companies look at. You only have to look at the amounts of games that now use card mechanics after Hearthstone's come out to see an evidence of that. I think it's really hard to do, though. It's super difficult to do well, because what Blizzard does is that they manage everything from within the company, and they take the same amount of care, they try to take the same amount of care for every piece of communication that comes out around the game as they do for the game itself. And that's really difficult to do because you need to have people that know how to do all of this, and you need to dedicate the time that you're going to dedicate to, the key product. So I think that's why I haven't seen a lot of the Halo marketing stuff, but the TV series, I've watched a little bit of it. I've watched, I think, like the first, I can't remember. It was like an hour and a half thing. It was the different episodes put together, and the problem with that is it's not great quality, right? It's okay. It's enjoyable if you enjoy the game, but as a self enclosed product, it's not. It's very low budget sci-fi stuff. So I think that's the challenge there. If you want to do that, you have to make sure it's top quality for everything you do if you want it to be successful. And I'm not sure that every developer or publisher is going to have first the budget and second the will, the desire to spend that much time and energy on it.
Yeah, because most game developers, or at least in the past, development cycles or just release cycles are every few years, and that's just kind of how it is. And the plans aren't generally to have all this media accompanying it. Like a title is only supposed to last 2 or 3 years, and then we come out with another one, that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting if people, if they do start to invest even more into their IPs, like, Riot. I could see Riot doing it with League of Legends. Let's just say another version of League of Legends come out. Why not do the same kind of thing, right? With all those kind of characters they have in that space too. I mean, they haven't done that much with the storylines for those characters. I mean, there's like hundreds of them at this point. So, a company like that could probably pull it off. Yeah. So
it could happen, and they definitely have the budget for it. So,
yeah,
but a lot of those heroes are just ripped off from Warcraft 3.
I didn't want to go there. You did. Oh my God. I might say something like that, but I decided.
It's hard to make a story when you already stole it from a story that exists.
No, they could do. I mean, arguably Warcraft was pulled from Warhammer, and they did manage to create new stuff and new things around that franchise. So
I know. I'm trolling minorly. Save your emails, everyone. But I truly believe that's why we haven't seen it yet. I mean, like, I remember when Dota 2 was originally coming out, we were getting some small interstitial comics, which were beautiful, by the way. The art in those things were killer, but they weren't that interesting.
I mean, there's been some short animations that have been amazing that that Riot's made here and there, but nothing that has a story. It's just mostly showcasing these characters and certain.
Yeah, Riot is really investing in pushing the eSports side of League, and I think if you're gonna invest in those cross media thing, you're gonna attract maybe more new players, and maybe they need it. But I think League is so focused on being try hard esports thing. I'm not sure the two communities would gel very well. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see for sure.
I don't know. I mean, the League and Dota communities, they have very, I feel, from what I've seen, healthy cosplay communities. I think they'd be totally into some stories. That's why I said I was partially trolling, because it's at a point now where, you can make your own darn stories. It's far enough removed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. I see nothing wrong with it. Just kidding, please, Savior. I can hear the typing. I can hear it. I can hear it coming. There's been a disturbance. Have you felt it? Sorry, an awakening. Anyways, moving forward. I love this kind of stuff. I can't wait to see what the next piece of kind of lore is from the Overwatch team. Of course, as usual, show already going long, but let's get into a strategy talking point, shall we?
Sure.
Patrick, I believe this was you were doing. You really wanted to make a PSA based off of a very informative Reddit post on the Overwatch subreddit by Blue Eyed Illusion, which was about the differences between HP, armor, and shields.
Right. So basically, I think everyone understands HP. You just, you have a certain amount, and when you get to 0, you die, right? Shield is also pretty straightforward. You can get it from either you already have shield on as part of your health, or you can get additional shields from Symmetra, and those just work the same way as health, but they refill after, I think, 3 seconds of not taking damage. So that's super useful. But then there's armor, which is a little bit misunderstood, and I didn't understand them until way into the beta. What happens with armor is that it mitigates 5 hit points from every hit you get hit with. So it's not going to do a lot for against a hero like Widowmaker. If Widowmaker shoots you from across the map with a sniper shot, it just takes 5 health points off of that 100 health points hit, right? So it's not going to do a lot. However, armor is going to be very efficient against a hero like Tracer or a hero like Reaper that shoot a lot of small things at you, right? So let's say Reaper does, I don't know exactly how much she does, but let's say she does 10 damage with each bullet, and she shoots 10 of them in a second. You're going to get 100 points of damage if you're not having any armor. However, if you do have armor, 5 damage out of the 10 of each bullet is going to be mitigated, so you're only going to get hit with 50 damage instead of 100. That is huge. So against certain heroes, armor is really efficient. And a tank like D.Va, for example, who's, I think, 75% of her health pool is armor. If you see that you're getting hit by heroes that only do lots of small amounts of damage, just go nuts with D.Va, for example. It could help you decide which character you're going to play. So I just wanted to explain that armor mechanic because it's not clear from the game itself.
The other thing from this that I didn't know, which was super cool, which is that if you have armor and a shield,
oh, it's crazy.
the shield takes damage first, but still gets that -5 damage reduction because you have armor that is active, even though it is not the armor that is taking the damage.
Right.
Oh, wait, I didn't even read that.
Yes,
That's
the order of damage dealt. Say you have a shield, armor, and health. The order of damage dealt goes shield first, then armor, then health. But since you have the armor, even though the shield is taking the damage, it gets the damage reduced by the armor.
Nice. Wow.
That's pretty awesome against Tracer and Soldier and all that. And
Rapid...
time to run Torbjorn and Symmetra, boys. Every game.
Yeah. Which now that I know this, again, doesn't surprise me with the statistics we've been seeing, saying that in most games, Torbjorn and Symmetra are showing the highest win rates, because I think for your average player, your average pickup game, just having more hit points is going to do a lot to help your fellow player.
True.
Yeah. I mean, this explains why you probably have some games where you're like, I just cannot kill this D.Va. You know what I mean? And it's taken me so long to kill this D.Va with Soldier 76, and that's exactly the reason. Yep.
And inside that pink mech, it is not a girl in a Evangelion type mech suit. It is me going. That's me.
And so when that happens, you should switch to Junkrat, throw a couple of grenades, and go. And then you laugh at Garrett.
Lovely. And for those of you listening in audio only, yes, Patrick did do the creepy little hand thing that Junkrat does. So thank you for that, Patrick. The original poster, again, Blue-Eyed Illusion, goes into way deeper detail. This is a fantastic post. It's one of the best posts I've seen on the subreddit. I highly recommend everyone, if you have not already read it, go to it and read it. We have a link in the show notes. You can find the show notes linked at the bottom of every episode post over at amove.tv/Overwatchers. So go check that out. Props, man. Good piece. I learned something today.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Before we move on to the next talking point, I want to thank our patrons, because we have a Patreon now over at patreon.com/Overwatchers. So if you are enjoying this show, if you like Patrick, if you like Chris, if you can tolerate me for about 90 minutes, you should head on over there and support us. It's opt-in. Show's always going to be free, but if you want to support us, this is the way to do so. You can do it for 25 cents. You can do it for $1. You can do it for $100, you crazy person. But feel free to. You're not that crazy if you do that. Come on, it's fine. But we've picked up quite a few patrons already. We're going to thank our first 8 patrons ever right here. So also, if you're wondering when you're going to get thanked, we're going to thank in order that they patronized and
Patronized.
and ate a week.
Please patronize us.
Yeah,
Yes, patronize us. So this week, thank you to Robert O, Marsh R, Hayden F, Griffin M, Robert M, Annette I, Lucas C, and Tuxin. You guys are our first 8 patrons.
Yes.
And we couldn't thank you enough. So enjoy, guys. Enjoy. If you're at the level that gets you Discord access, don't forget to DM all 3 of us so we can actually give you Overwatchers privileges, because Discord doesn't have that robust of a tool set so that it's automated for us. You have to talk to us. You actually have to talk to us. So, anyways, it's been great. So I'm surprised how many people are already backing us, and thank you guys. I appreciate it. So
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
yeah. Patreon.com/Overwatchers. Now, a thread popped up on the official forums this week suggesting that the game should award us 1 loot box upon winning the weekly brawl. And Jeff Kaplan replied saying, we would like to give a reward for the weekly brawl at some point.
So that's surprising because I think it came up during the beta, and he mentioned that they weren't planning on giving out a reward for the weekly brawl. So I was surprised, but it would be cool. I think it's a good opportunity to get people into the brawl, because the brawl is really fun, and you don't really navigate towards it if you're not incentivized. But I'm not sure what they could do. That's a really challenging problem. They could, easily give you a loot box or give you an experience bonus or something like that. I think that would be a little bit cheap, though. I'm wondering if they aren't looking at something down the line with new, I don't know, systems or maps or something, and looking at the brawl for that. But
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or just win one. And like you said, the kind of cheap, the one that copies Hearthstone for the most part, just win a match and then just get exposure to the brawl and then just get rewarded for that. And hopefully they can get people on that kind of cycle, I guess, for weeks and weeks.
I almost would prefer it if it was just finish a game of brawl, so people aren't incentivized to leave if they're losing the brawl. The brawl should just be a fun place.
I see.
I don't necessarily think it
makes
should be
sense.
tied to
That
winning.
makes sense.
maybe play 3 brawls and that's it. But
Yeah,
some of
actually,
those can be.
the brawl. I think that's a good format. That's a good or achievement type of thing instead of winning. Because I've always felt that with Hearthstone, a lot of those goals, those daily goals or quests, should just have been play X number of games with a class versus win games.
Yeah, the brawls can go really long though. I mean, I don't know if you played Arcade since it came out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's it's epic. It's like you're sweating and you're like, no cooldowns, and you're just no death timer. You just come back immediately. It's like, it's insane, but it can go really long. You can be 5-10 minutes on the point with, contesting for the whole duration. It's really crazy.
Have you played that one, Garrett? No cooldown, and there's more hit points too, and it's just.
I think I played
insane.
it in the beta. I don't think I played it since it went live.
Yeah,
it's crazy sauce. I just love the image of Patrick leaving his office and his wife going, "Why are you so sweaty?" And he just goes, "Overwatch brawl. You don't even know."
It's got the gray shirt too. It got the the
Yeah, you can really see it. Yeah. Or the white one, and it's slightly yellowed.
Oh my god. There was actually a really fun video of someone who set up, I don't think it was in the brawl, it was in a custom game with no cooldown at all, and they basically got all Genjis, and they went in Hanamura, and they were saying, we love Dragon Ball and we love Overwatch, so let's put the two together. It was just Genjis doing the dash without cooldown, so they would just fly around the map, everywhere, and they were like Dragon Ball, basically flying around. It was super fun. Almost like that in the brawl, almost.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Absolutely nuts. So, well, let's get into this week's community roundup. Some of the fun stuff happening around the community. A fake window has been spotted in Kings Row, and guys, after I watched this, I can't believe I didn't notice this. I always notice this crap in games.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best to explain this to the audio-only audience, but if you played through Kings Row, I'm going to talk about this from the perspective of attacking. When you first unlock the payload and you push through that first kind of tunnel, and you can take that left path into what looks like a little pub or something, or an office. On the outside of that, like facing straight forward, like if you're looking at it inside, it's just a wall. And then on the outside, if you go around, it's a full wall of windows with a nice like reflective mapping on it. And it's a total joke, man. It's cheating.
And the thing you can see inside is different from what's actually inside the room.
That's pretty typical in games on when you're doing reflections on windowed surfaces.
Of course, but it looks like you're seeing inside the room, but when then you go around and you look inside, it's something different. And it's like, and the video is super well done and has this X-Files music when you get into it, and it's like, oh my god.
Is there an alternate universe? Is this a gateway into an alternate universe?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's funny. I would have been fine if it was just like the reflected texture or the reflected painting doesn't match what's inside, because you see that all the time in games. Whatever, that's fine. But the fact that you go inside and there's not even windows all the way across, like I'm like, come on.
It's a solid wall, a solid red wall of all things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those hint things that the team placed somewhere for a character that can alter your vision of reality somehow.
I sincerely doubt that, considering we already got our short on King's Row.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but yeah, it's funny that we played for months, like for 6 months, without anyone realizing this. It's like, oh my god,
I know.
That's funny.
It is kind of amazing because there are some people that's all they do is really comb through these levels. You know, like Route 66, right? I mean, there's this whole 20-minute YouTube video on every little thing in the diner. So
yeah, Deckard Cain ordering coffee and stuff.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. Patrick, you pointed us to all of the non-English quotes in the game translated.
Yeah, I love those things. You know, it's one of the things I think is exceptionally well done in the game. The different languages and the slight accents and all of that. And this one is just, I always wonder when they're saying stuff in their native language, the characters, I always wonder what it means. And so, okay, first of all, it turns out apparently it just means what they say in English. So it's not that incredible, but be able to actually see what it is and just get the translation and the readings and all of this, it's super well done. It's a nice post. So if you're into that kind of thing, I'd recommend you go check it out. I had a couple of interesting ones that were completely different from what I thought they were saying. I'm not going to try and say it, the Russian things. My wife is just next to me. She speaks Russian. So that would be way too enjoyable for her. She would make fun of me forever. There are a couple of Japanese ones, which I'm like, oh, yes, this is like anime something. And it's really cool. I love these kinds of things.
Yeah, they're great. And for those watching video, Skype is being Skype is all get out right now. So there's nothing I can really do. For some reason, you guys look like you're
the gray screen,
all grayed out.
Great. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Skype. You just can't do what you're supposed to. I guess it's time for my ritualistic uninstall, reinstall that I must do every week to keep the Skype demons at bay. So. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. Patrick, are you really going to set us up for you trying to pronounce say one thing in Russian and not deliver?
No. Okay, so Russian I can't. I can say something in Japanese if you want. I can do
I don't want to hear you speak in a language you know how to speak. Where's the fun in that?
In that case, okay, I got it. In that case, Garrett, you have to say something in Japanese, and then I will say something in Russian.
Oh, for the love of God. Sure. I get to choose. I'm going to choose one of the short ones.
No. You have to say the last one.
The last one?
The last one. Oh my gosh, the last one's so long, dude.
The last one from Genji.
Oh, the last one from Genji.
All right, well, you first, sir.
Okay, so I'm gonna say the Russian one. Okay. Wow, now I'm getting
nervous.
stage fright. I'm entering my inner Zarya. I'm channeling the pink hair, and I'm gonna say Ogon Pogotovnosti. That was a male version of Ogon Pogotovnosti.
I thought that was perfectly fine.
Yeah, that was
all right.
I'm sure it's 10,000 times better than me trying to say Waga Kokoro Mai Kiyoshi Shui.
All right, that was mean. It was really long. It's actually waga kokoro meikyo shisui. Say it again.
There you go. I'm not saying it again. I'm
Ah,
done.
damn it. Okay.
That's all you
Never
get.
mind. That was so. Okay, we could ask Chris to say.
Oh wait!
one
You can leave me out of this, man. This is something between you two.
All right, fine. You get a pass. That was fun. Thank you.
That was fun. Thank you for that, Patrick. Thank you for indulging me in stupidity. Oh, goodness gracious.
All right. Any other thing?
No, I think some of these other things we can wait until next week, since we it was a beefy show today. I think it was a beefy show. I think
as usual.
I think now is a good time to end it. Typically the show is bi-weekly, unless some of the other ideas we have on the Patreon get unlocked. But we will be doing weekly shows for a few more weeks as we ride out the tail of the dragon that has been this insane launch. So expect another episode from us next week. I believe, Patrick, you will still be in Japan, so we'll still be doing it Tuesday night, correct?
Yeah. Last one. That's the last one. I'm leaving on Friday, the 10th. So that will be the last one from Japan.
Very cool. So if you want to tune into the live show, it's a great time. Our chat room, they're very kind. And I'd recommend coming and hanging out. Come on over to twitch.tv/amovetv for the live recording of Overwatchers. Next Tuesday, we'll be doing it back at our semi-normal Japan time of 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So come and join us, won't you? It's a good time. Also, follow us on Twitter at OverwatchCast. Email us at mailoverwatchers@gmail.com. Mail us in a parcel, not as in a gender. Subscribe to us on iTunes and over at youtube.com/amovetv. Speaking of iTunes, thank you guys who are leaving us iTunes reviews. It helps the show out a lot. We have been killing it on iTunes, and I really can't thank you guys enough. On this episode, let's thank Cyrenix, Cheesy Bob, and RYC113. Thank you guys for your 5-star iTunes reviews. If you want to help us out and not spend a dime, you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes as well. We'd really appreciate it. And a big fat thanks to our patrons one more time over at patreon.com/Overwatchers. Thank you guys. Patrick, where can folks find you?
Not Patrick on Twitter, and FrenchSpin.com. For example, you might want to listen to Pixels, which is a show about general gaming news. We did a pre-E3 episode a couple of days ago, which you might enjoy. It's at FrenchSpin.com.
Nice. And Chanman, how about you, sir?
At ChanmanV on Twitter, and if you like Hearthstone, you can catch my show Value Town tomorrow on twitch.tv/ChanmanV at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Sweet. And I'm going to do this in my old-timey radio voice. You can find me on the internet at Garrett Hart and over at amove.tv. Last time on The Legend of Korra is basically the cheesy voice I'm trying to do.
Sounds actually pretty close.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, all the shows over at amove.tv. Lately, I've just been promoting this show, so I don't know. Go check out Embrace the Spoilers, Game of Thrones with Jocelyn Moffat and myself, where we spoil the shit out of Game of Thrones. That's fun. That'll do it for now. We don't really have a cheesy catchphrase on this one, so I'll just say my usual. Good luck and have fun, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.